The Toronto Raptors have yet another opportunity to bolster their point guard depth after a brand new point guard has hit the trade block in Malcolm Brogdon. So, what will it cost the Raptors to get this trade done, and should they really go through with it? Let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports, where it is all Toronto Raptors all the time in videos, live streams, and shorts. So drop a like if you enjoyed this one along the way, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more Raptors content just like this as we get into preseason, the regular season, and beyond. But when one door closes, another one opens, and for the Raptors, there have been a multitude of point guards they have had their eyes on, progressively getting worse and worse, and we've come to the latest in Malcolm Brogdon after the failed attempts to acquire Damian Lillard. Maybe a mild amount of interest in Jrue Holiday, but here we are with Malcolm Brogdon, the potential for the Raptors to strike a deal with the Trailblazers, who no doubt are going to be looking to move the player ahead of the season and finally address the much-needed point guard depth that has plagued the team for a number of years. So, what we're going to answer in today's video is what the Raptors would have to trade in order to make this one happen with the Portland Trailblazers, and if they should actually pull the trigger and bring him into the team. Because it's no secret, the point guard depth is a little bit of a problem for the Raptors going into the season, as it was last year, as it was also the year before that. But the point guard depth at the moment is Dennis Schroeder likely being your starting point guard, and then you have Malachi Flynn, then you have Jeff Dowd if he makes the roster, big if, and you have two-way guys like Javon Freeman-Liberty and Marquise Noel. Obviously, Scottie Barnes is going to get a lot of point guard reps this season, so you can kind of loop him into that, but ultimately, Malcolm Brogdon could make a big difference to this team if he is here helping us, and my goodness, the Raptors could have really used him 1 year ago, and they also had significant interest in acquiring a player in a trade from the Indiana Pacers, and in fact, the Raptors actually did strike a deal with the Pacers to land the reigning now sixth man of the year point guard, but unfortunately, the Boston Celtics also struck a deal, and the Pacers, wanting to do right by Brogdon, allowed Brogdon to choose his next destination, and Brogdon, seeing the Celtics as a contender, wanted to compete, wanted to go for an NBA championship. Yeah, we can really see why he decided to choose the Boston Celtics over the Toronto Raptors, but there was significant interest from the Raptors 1 year ago, so I think that interest is still going to remain for the player, especially after he adapted to that new role in Boston and executed to a great degree. So, if he did so well for the Celtics, why did they want to get rid of him so bad? Well, the Celtics right now are going into a real championship or bust window. They want to be absolute contenders here, and going with a different player like Jrue Holiday instead of Brogdon really alleviates a lot of risk associated with the player. He very rarely has a fully healthy season. In fact, he really hasn't had any fully healthy seasons, especially in the last 4 years. They don't really want to pay him the $22.5 million a year he's owed over the next couple of years. The Celtics just don't want to take that risk with the player. But the Raptors may be having a little bit more leeway with the player coming off of a 67-game season. Could potentially want to strike a deal with the Portland Trailblazers, who no doubt are going to be looking to flip another player here after acquiring him again in that Jrue Holiday deal. So what exactly are the Raptors going to have to give up in order to make this one happen and get the player into the team? Because no doubt a player of his caliber is going to help the team. And just thinking about how different this season, last season, could have been had the Raptors had him for the entire season, were able to address the point guard depth, not having to overplay Fred VanVleet, having a better facilitator of a point guard as well within the team as well. Things would have turned out a lot differently. I think the team would have been in a much different situation in its current state, but alas, here we are today, an opportunity to go out and get Malcolm Brogdon. So what is the price going to be? As far as the return the Blazers have got for Damian Lillard, it's worked out quite well. They got a pick along with some swaps, DeAndre Ayton, and then they got Jrue Holiday. They turned Jrue Holiday into picks. They turned Jrue Holiday as well into Robert Williams. And they also turned it into Malcolm Brogdon, who they are now going to be looking to add in more future assets here. The Blazers are focused on the future, especially when it comes to their point guards. They have three great young point guards in Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe. They don't really want to clog up their minutes, clog up their touches by having another point guard like Brogdon. So they're not really going to be looking for guards in return. Good thing we don't have many, but they are going to be looking for future assets. As far as a player involved here, this is no longer the territory where you need to add in a significant player to make this thing happen, even though he is a sixth man of the year. I think you're really going to be able to get Brogdon on a cut price deal, and I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are interested in the player, including the Raptors. So what the Raptors could involve to get this one done? Well, there's a number of salary filling options that the Raptors can use. A combination of Chris Boucher, Thaddeus Young, Otto Porter Jr., Malachi Flynn, and even further down, I mean, if you want to go with Precious Achiuwa as well in the deal, not all 5 of them combined, but some sort of combination there that satisfies the Blazers. To be honest, if the Raptors were going to make this deal, it wouldn't really bother me one way or another which of the players are involved in trying to make this deal happen. Just get there with the salary. But what's also going to cost the Raptors on top of that, I think it'd be difficult to get this trade done without a first-round pick being involved. The Raptors only have the option of trading either their 2028, their 2029, or their 2030 pick, and they are going to trade one pick. So for Toronto, for the Raptors to make this trade happen, yeah, it's probably going to be a first-round pick and probably going to be a swap along with that. So I would suggest it would be the 2028 first-round pick and a 2029 swap with the Portland Trail Blazers along with that salary filler. That's not too much for a player coming off of an impressive season. He played 67 games. He was the NBA 6th Man of the Year, but we also need to assess the exact situation that the Eastern Conference is in. 1 week ago, I was all in on making a trade for Damian Lillard. Not like all in and trading. Yeah, I'm not trading Barnes, I'm not trading Siakam, but hey, I might trade OG Anunoby. I would trade OG Anunoby to make this happen, especially in a weak Eastern Conference. Tons of question marks about the Celtics. Trading Marcus Smart, changing their identity as Kristaps Porzingis can fit with that team. Milwaukee not making any improvements. I mean, they still have the same core of Giannis, Holiday, and Lopez. They're not getting any younger. The turmoil around Giannis potentially leaving the team. Well, in the last 7 days, all of that has been sorted. Giannis is going to be there to stay after the team acquired Dame, and consequently, by acquiring Dame, they moved Holiday, and the Celtics struck a deal to drastically improve their team as well by bringing in basically a better version of Marcus Smart, while now also still having Kristaps Porzingis in their team when they acquired Jrue Holiday. So the East is nowhere near as open as it was 1 week ago, and it is much stronger. The gap from the Raptors to challenging in any sort of way to the top of the Eastern Conference is vast. It is very vast, and making this trade for Brogdon doesn't really change that. I mean, if Brogdon comes to this team, I think that we move up a few ticks. I mean, you have to understand the injury risk associated with the player. I think it turns the Raptors team from what it is now, I would consider a 7th or 8th seed likely, with an opportunity to surprise and be a 5th or 6th seed, sure, but an opportunity to fall off and be even a 9th or 10th or even worse of a seed in the Eastern Conference. But I would say that the average season for the Raptors ahead would be a 7th or 8th seed. Adding in Brogdon, does it really put you that much higher? Like, that probably turns us into one where we're hoping to be a 5th or 6th seed to we're expecting to be a 5th or 6th seed, but it really doesn't move the needle a ton, in my opinion. And you're asking the Raptors to sacrifice a first-round pick, which are very valuable assets. Number one for the Raptors, like the best way for the Raptors to find talent has consistently been through the draft, through their scouting, through their selection process. And if the Raptors still have aspirations to make a big trade down the line when inevitably another superstar player, another star player becomes available for trade, you want those picks. You want the flexibility of being able to move those picks, especially when finally that first round pick to the San Antonio Spurs conveys. It's only been like 5-6 months, but it feels like an eternity that we've been waiting, and we have to wait another year for that pick to the Spurs to convey that top 6 protected pick for the 2024 season. So ultimately with Brogdon, I really do like the fit. I think it makes a lot of sense the way he fits in with the roster and the players that we'd give up, but it just doesn't move the needle enough and doesn't get us anywhere near close enough to the top of the Eastern Conference to justify losing an important asset down the line that I would rather just keep a hold of, especially when, you also consider the fact that Brogdon can be a bit injury prone, and you don't have to pay him $22 million over the next couple of seasons. You can save maybe some salary space because you got a lot of work to do in extending Siakam, Trent, and or OG Anunoby ahead of the 2024 offseason. And hey, Scotty Barnes is also going to be extension eligible in about 10 months' time. So ultimately, this one, I like it in theory. In practice, it just doesn't make sense for the Raptors to do. But what would you do in this situation? Should the Raptors go out and trade for Malcolm Brogdon? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to smash that like button and also subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more Raptors content just like this.